Welcome to the Mod Brothers official podcast, episode 2.
Hello and welcome to the Mod Brothers podcast. This is our second episode, so you guys are still listening, which is a good thing, I guess. Today with us we've got Bill Owen.
Hey guys and gals.
Jeremy Butch.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening.
And Christine. I don't even remember your surname.
Well, geez. Last name is Greenwald, and I go by Scirocco online. Hi.
Scirocco.
And we've also got Dave LaLopa from PC Design Labs with us.
Hi, everybody.
Christine, you haven't been on the show before, so why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you got started in modding?
Okay. Well, let's see. I'm an adult. I'm above 30. No, actually, I'm 53, I'll confess. A woman that actually confesses her age. I'm a grandmother, and I love building my own PCs, and got into modding just because beige didn't quite do it. I've been a crafter all my life, like to put together plastic models of cars, tanks, different things. I guess I'm one of those strange women. But I've always enjoyed art. My scholarship at college was science and art. I had two majors there, so kind of a strange combo. It started there.
And projects, what have you built?
Well, much that I don't talk about because it's not all that good. My one major project was Way of the Warrior, which was for a contest that they had at what was that place online that went kerplunk?
The
Mod Shop.
Yeah, that's
whatever,
it.
Yeah. I did that one, and I'm working on Aeon slowly, using the wonderful Next Rogue chassis. I'll tell you, that's one impressive piece of aluminum there to work with. And had some health issues and some other things going on, so I've been doing some sleeving in between other things here at home, but I think it'll turn out really nice. I'm glad for the work so far. And other than that, I've probably built about a dozen PCs over the years.
All right. And all your work logs can be for how many work logs do you have? 2? 3.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
You've got your 2 work logs on the staff member section of the forum, so you guys can go and check it out.
Interview.
Because we've got Dave LaLopa from PC Design Lab with us, we can't let him go without an interview. So I'm kind of doing this. It was kind of short notice today, as in 5 minutes before we started. So I haven't actually got anything written down, so I'll just start going. Where did PC Design Lab come from, and what's your history in computing and cases?
Well, we've been in business for about 4.5 years. I'm a designer engineer, and I was an enthusiast, like a lot of you guys. Wasn't happy with any of the small form factor stuff out there. Really poor quality, trying to fit the higher end hardware, and just, as a side project, sort of designing stuff on my own, taking advantage of some of the manufacturing resources that I had access to as an engineer. And it started off with QV1. Now we're into QV2E, which is the 4th generation of the case. And a lot of the design elements have been based on enthusiast and modder feedback. In fact, the change from QV1 to QV2, I put a focus group together of guys much like yourselves, and that's how it turned into the more aggressive look and the higher performance support. We also do OEM manufacturing. Q Micra is the star product that most people see on the page. behind the scenes, we do a lot of commercial work, and I'm starting to launch a a new line of mini ITX cases to kind of jump on that bandwagon. So we have been like a big supporter of modders, and that's how I came to meet and become good friends with Bill Owen here. Flew over there to do a couple mods on our case, and our stuff has been to quite a few lands and has won a few competitions with the modders. So.
And the projects you talk about is all the QMicro, it was the flames and the mirrored and.
Yeah, Bill did his his great stuff, the his car experience and kind of look to the stuff, and really sweetened it up.
And what sort of things were you looking at when you're building your QMicros? Because I know airflow is a very big thing when it comes to your cases.
Right. Front to back airflow was the most important thing, and being a small form factor case, it's only 1 cubic foot. And when you got the air going front to back like that, it's literally, a couple 120 millimeter fans is replacing all the air in the case in less than a second. As far as I know, and unless you want to step into a tower case that has 8 120 millimeter fans, and have the airflow kind of going through the bottom, and then have to go around the cards and find its way through the back at a different part of the, off alignment from the front. In my opinion, it's one of the better, if not the best, cooling case out there because of that. And the hardware was also arranged with that in mind, like putting the hard drives staggered in the front grill. So that's the first thing that gets hit with fresh air and things like that.
And that cooling's actually evident with, I'm just checking out your news and how you've got the small form factor overclock record in one of your cases.
Yeah, that's a guy from France who's been doing it's a self-contained cooling record. There's not like a pipe sticking out the top. They're putting liquid nitrogen into the thing. It's actually a over 5 gigahertz overclock self-contained system that's stable. So
That's insane.
That's a lot. I can't take credit for the extended work that he did on the thing, but certainly when I meet guys like that, they give me ideas to facilitate making it easier for them to achieve that type of overclocking and cooling.
And when you're making the cases, was using aluminium a big thing?
Yeah, it was. It made the case a lot lighter, corrosion resistant as opposed to steel. Easier to work with, so it's a little bit cheaper to actually form. But everything is laser cut and fabricated here in Rochester, New York. We're one of maybe, 3 or 4 companies that I can think of offhand in North America that does any kind of custom case work, like designing it and building it from the box level. And pretty much all our competitors, everything else is coming from Asia.
Yeah, so you're another big made in the US product.
Well, I got to say that it was what I was trained to do and what I went to college for, and the world that existed 20 years ago. I didn't anticipate being in the market as it is today, and I've had to work very hard to adapt to it. I think and I'd like to actually, if you don't mind, take a moment to talk about this, because it's a very important subject in terms of a GNP for any nation, is that the mindset for buying Asian-produced products has been that, well, we buy it from there, it's cheaper. And what we've come to learn, and what our customers, by the time they come to us, have learned, is that you will pay less on the front end, but you end up losing those cost savings on the back end in terms of quality control, shrinkage, customer support for less superior products. If you want to get the stuff quickly, there's a high premium to have it shipped over from China, for logistics, and it costs a lot of money if you want like a quick order. And the communication problems and dealing with their engineers, and really I could go on and and for me personally, I love trying to create business in my local economy and to do business with people face to face, and to create work and jobs and use materials, and that's a big part of our economy here in Rochester, and I would feel that way really no matter what country I was in. So
Yeah, that is actually a very important point, especially with the current climate and all the rest. And I know Bill's another big fan of helping the local economy with his made in the US, all his stuff being made essentially by him. We just move on to how can you facilitate modders with your cases, with finishes and all the rest?
Well, we can, in dealing with, in finding a builder here, there's actually several sheet metal fabrication shops, and we used to put stuff out for bid, like 3 bids out, and we ended up with this one particular builder who was very enthusiastic about our project, and they were actually the ones to suggest, well, we have some other powder coat colors here, and now we're at the point where we can offer pretty much any color. But really the case itself and the design, there was obviously some design elements that are, necessary. You have to hold a motherboard, you have to hold this and that. A cover has to fit on a base. But in the rest of the case design, it was about creating real estate for modders to add things. Switches on, there's a strip to add switches on the front, and trying to create flat surfaces and planes to add grills, and for instance, I added a 2x112 grill on each side of the cover now, and you can add bills like laser cut acrylic grills and things of that nature. They're just bolt right on. So it's really been about becoming involved in your community and learning about what you guys like to do and what you have in terms of products, like with Bill, and just making it possible so they work with our cases.
Yeah, because I'm busy looking at Craig's mod on one of your cases.
Yeah, this reminded me to go see what he's been up to, and I'm dying to see what he comes up with as well, because I've seen his past projects and they're just amazing.
Yeah. So are you able to give modders unfinished cases that we can paint up and all the rest if we wanted to?
Yep, yeah. I always keep, every time I do a run, I put some aside that are left unpainted that I leave at the MFG. And sometimes they have a powder coat color that the modder wants, but otherwise I can send them an unfinished case, and they can do their own work on it.
On most of your
I don't know any other... Sorry.
Yeah, Karen.
What?
Karen.
I was saying I don't, just to toot my own horn here, I don't know of any case manufacturer that does that. So it's something that we're proud to do.
And we're grateful for it. We don't have to deal with all that gunk that comes off paint and powder coats and all the rest when we're trying to paint stuff.
Yeah, stripping is brutal with powder coat.
I wouldn't want to take that on, that's for sure.
What was I saying? Where do most people actually get your case? Is it mostly a US market or worldwide?
Well, I'd like to refer back to about 6 months ago, before the economy really started affecting people's purchasing decisions. It's completely unpredictable right now, but typically our biggest buyers were Europeans and California, actually. And it seems the closer we get to the East Coast here in the U.S., the less sales we see. Texas has been a big seller, and the Midwest, but it's typically been, when the dollar was in the toilet, oh geez, I had a lot of European customers, and we actually picked up a retailer in the U.K. So.
Is that Custom PC?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I've been looking at getting one of your cases for a while now. Because I'm UK based, so I'm actually about an hour away from them.
Well, if they're out, okay. Well then, I think they just grabbed a couple for stock, And if they don't have them in stock, we do ship worldwide via USPS airmail. So it's always a flat rate of around like $50, and we'll go anywhere that they ship to. About 6 days.
All right. And have you got any new designs planned?
Absolutely. I'm in the prototype phase of a couple of mini ITX case designs, and very interesting market that I kind of got started with a customer that I had. I was working with the Linux MCE guys, and particularly a company called Fire, who has since gone out of business because of customer support issues. But the product that we made for them was a slim micro ATX motherboard, because the Linux MCE guys hadn't actually created driver support for the mini ITX stuff. So they needed like a slim micro ATX case that they could fit behind it, like a large screen TV on a wall. Excuse me. And that got me to looking very, very closely at the mini ITX market, and noticed that a lot of the stock out there, a lot of the cases still have like an embedded CPU, low wattage, low heat mindset to the design. And of course, me being liking overkill like everybody else here, started looking at it and going, well, how can we pack at least a single slot high-end graphics card in this thing, and how can we make an NAS that allows people to do it themselves, or we can do the system install for like half the price of what a typical like out of the box NAS goes for these days. And these are solutions that I'm looking to create, and it's really cool stuff. I've been gaming on a mini ITX system to demo with it, and honestly, it's the prices have come down, and the performance and support has come up with the hardware, that you can have like 90% of a hardcore gaming system in like a mini ITX platform in a mini ITX box. So it's some really cool stuff.
And I'm just looking on your website at the moment, which I'll do a small plug for you, is PCDesignLab.com.
Yep. And
you seem to have an HTPC as well planned.
Yep. The design actually, and let me go over and remind myself as well. But one of the box designs, the first one you're going to see is the NAS. We have a design meeting on Monday to look at the prototype, and I'm going to be showing pictures of that very soon here. But that NAS design is actually a scalable design. In other words, that box, you simply take that base design, you add length or add height to add support for other hardware. So you have your two 3.5-inch bays there, and just raise it a little bit, and we'll put a slim drive in it, lengthen it a little bit, and we can put a nice card in there, and widen it a bit, and we can put a 1 RU, like 200 to 350 watt power supply in there. So that would give you the power to get like a high-end system in one of these boxes.
Yeah, I'm just busy looking at it now, and it looks pretty cool, with the ability to have, for in your NAS box, the ability to create your own NAS with your Intel, with enough space for the standard Intel heatsink.
Yeah, that was the big thing, was that I actually just made it tall enough so you could fit a standard, 2-inch high-ish, heatsink on the thing. Another big problem with the cooling in the current mini ITX cases out there is that you had to kind of find these slot milled copper plates that definitely didn't have the heat dissipation needed for like a Core 2 Duo. So I want to be able to at least make it, and adding support to be able to just put a standard I/O panel, motherboard I/O panel in the back, which a lot of the mini ITX cases don't offer. They offer like proprietary cutouts for a certain motherboard in the rear I/O, and just by raising that height just a little bit, it's definitely still a mini ITX form factor, and you can take your hardware right out of the box and save yourself a lot of money and time using standard components.
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. And so, what were you doing before you started building cases? Were you a modder, or were you just interested in designing computers?
Well, I was definitely an enthusiast, and all the way back to playing Doom 2 on BBSs, dial-up multiplayer, and trying to figure out ways to tweak your modem to get a couple extra baud out of the thing to get a better ping time, so you can smoke your opponent. I mean,
See, that's before my time.
yeah, it goes back to that. I owned Pong, if that gives you an idea.
Yeah, I remember having Pong. That was fun playing on the TV in black and white.
And me being the person, growing to be an engineer was, I took all my toys apart at Christmas, so.
Perspective. The first game I ever owned was the original Command and Conquer. Let's see. Is there anything else in your view you'd like to ask Dave?
I'm sorry, like what?
Would any of the other guys in the panel want to ask Dave any questions before we finish up?
I haven't actually purchased any of your cases yet, but from speaking to you briefly here, I plan on picking one up.
Great.
I've been a fan of the design for a while and followed, plenty of builds based on that chassis, and I like the way it's laid out. I mean, from a modder standpoint, there's a lot of stuff you can do to it, and I like the fact that it kind of has, it's the perfect medium between a blank canvas for the modder as well as a finished case for just a system builder.
Yeah.
It's like it hit that sweet spot.
Wow, that's
difficult to do.
Great to hear, because that's exactly what we're shooting for with this thing. So, thanks. And by all means, if you pick it up, fire me a note and let me know what you think. And
definitely.
There's a very good chance that whenever I hear a good idea, that's like, yeah, that's a good idea, and we just build it in a case. And that's how generation by generation. That's how it gets improved to where it is now. And just one last kind of design note coming from my perspective is my personal design style is to be very simplistic as possible. I tend to like that kind of stuff. In a design philosophy point of view, really it's about taking the hardware that you want to put in it and building the box around it, which seems to be very elusive for a lot of Chinese produced designs. It seems like it's kind of done backwards. We got a case, well, what can people put into it, as opposed to, well, we got this new graphics card that just added another, it's like 16 inches now. How can we support it in our case, kind of thing. So.
Just as a comment, having seen your designs, Dave, and some of the things you've discussed here about the new designs, the new generation of it and all, it seems to me that the Q Micra is, as I said, a nice balance in between. But what it seems to me is, I think some modders who are just beginning get a little intimidated by the things they have to do for a mod. And what you have there is a nice basic case that they can do as little or a lot as they, that they want to it, so that it's a lower barrier to entry in modding, if you see what I mean. They can add the laser cut fan grills, or they can have a custom color without doing a lot of cutting on a case, and yet make it their own.
And bolt-on is definitely a great entry-level way to doing modding.
Right.
The market is obviously crazy with aftermarket parts that are bolt-on, and obviously we want to be able to support as much of that as possible. But I also like the fact that we appeal to the more advanced guys, and I love being able to send projects over to Bill to see what he can do with it, because that's it just creates a workflow and support for both ends of the community, and I love being a part of it and doing and working with guys like Bill and other modders like you guys, obviously.
It's great. It's very nice to have another manufacturer or somebody who sees to the quality and the function of the cases that you do here in the U.S. It's really heartening to see. Thank you.
It's fun for me, I can tell you that. So.
Plus, having somebody actually pay attention to what us modders actually say. Most of the time, if you mention cutting a hole in a case to somebody that isn't familiar with the hobby, they look at you like you've grown a second head. Why would you cut a hole in a perfectly good computer case?
Yeah.
Why not?
And also, as somebody that a case manufacturer that'll actually accept that it's the modders that they got their ideas from, unlike most of the others who will just steal our ideas and that's how it goes.
Well, not only that, but it was actually I kind of got the it was indicated to me that I was on the right track when I started seeing some of my design elements copied by Asian competitors. So call it a rite of passage, if you will. But the good news is that we fabricate in small quantities, so I'm always 2 generations ahead of them. They got to build 10,000 units, and unfortunately, because it's produced in the U.S. and because of the R&D that's constantly put into this case, and the better materials and things like that, the case is obviously a little more pricey. But there's really good reasons for that. I'm definitely not going to be retiring anytime soon making these things. So,
as long as you love what you do, that's what counts.
It really is. It's more of a case that's turned into kind of a labor of love. And the Mini ITX stuff is definitely going to be more of a mainstream commercial type of product to help jumpstart other parts of the business. And Q Micro, I don't see I just like to keep letting it continue to grow as its own animal like it has, and I love to see what people do with it. So,
and talking about generations of QMicro, could you explain the naming system to me? Because you said it's the 4th generation, but it's the QV2E.
Yeah, it was QV1, and then 3 builds, 3 manufacturing runs in QV2. So that puts it in the 4th generation, and every run I've done, I've made changes and improvements. So.
All right, because I was just looking at it, I was confused.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out. It's not really. It didn't seem like a QV4 to me. I mean, there was a real drastic change between QV1 and QV2. But then the changes in the last couple of runs of QV2 have been based on the same platform. We just kind of added or subtracted some things in the design based on feedback. So.
All right. And I think that's the interview just about over, so you can take off your interviewee hat.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thank you very much for the time and the chance to talk to you and your listeners.
If you want to stick around for a bit more, you can.
I'd love to.
Q&A.
Then we're going to go into our normal question and answer session, which we'd really like you guys to actually send us some more questions. You can do so on the forum. There's the question submittal thread, and you can also get us on Twitter and on email at Twitter's at modbrothers.com, and email is themodbrothers@googlemail.com for now. We're hoping to change that soon though. And so let's see, what questions do we have? Here's a quick question from Max Infliction on the forums. What are your favorite stock cases to work on? And Jeremy, why don't you start us off on that?
Oh boy, it's a good question. Honestly, the answer probably will change every time I want to begin a new project. I can admit, no offense to Dave here, but I can admit I've purchased quite a few Leon Lee chassis over the years, and
well, for the record, I love Leon Lee stuff and even some Silverstone stuff. I mean, I don't hate other cases because I make a case, I mean, I know quality when I see it, and they make great cases. They're awesome.
Yeah. One of the main reasons why I choose, I tend to go to Leon Lee first is, the chassis they're blank canvases. They afford you a lot of different possibilities when you look at the particular chassis, depending on what it is. I can admit, recently I've begun to look at the smaller case market more than I used to. I was always a full tower kind of guy because I like to stuff it full of, multiple loops, water cooling, you name it. And I always like having...
Candy.
Pardon?
Lots of eye candy.
Yes, that too. I just like having the real estate to be able to work with, but there have been a lot of new chassis that that have hit the market that you can still fit a lot of that stuff in there with that in actual smaller physical size, and I like to see that. But to answer the question, I do tend to look at Lian Li chassis, but I'm beginning to notice other companies' stuff as well. I haven't had the opportunity to cut on a Silverstone yet, but I plan on doing that sometime. Although, actually, technically, we have actually cut on the Silverstone chassis recently.
Yeah, I was about to say.
We can't really talk about that yet.
I will not prod you. And Bill, what's your opinion?
I agree with Dave and Jeremy. Lian Li and Silverstone would be my first choice, but there's also a part of me that anytime there's a brand new case on the market and I see a review of it, I want to mod it. It's like there isn't anything I don't want to mod. Like right now, if I could start a project, it'd probably be the new Corsair Obsidian, because Jeremy I got to see it up close in person, and it's a lot more impressive to see in person. And then the new Silverstone Raven 2. Partly because the deal with the Raven, I think that aesthetically it's really ugly looking, and I could make it look better.
It really is. It's kind of weird how it takes up
design improvements.
Yeah,
always.
Aesthetically, it's
taken a
ugly.
full tower and stuck on that side.
But though the chassis inside is kick-ass, though the way I love the brand new design on it and how they're doing something completely different, and the way it's set up for cooling with the triple 180s in the floor. I think that's really cool. Part of me, I just like to go out and just change things up. I hate to look at stock things. I rarely look at things stock. I analyze them at their core and figure out how I can make them look completely different. But yeah, I would say anybody out there, if they've got the money and they want to really do something that expresses their own individuality, is Lian Li or Silverstone, definitely.
Kind of makes me think of something that, to go back what Christine said, for a new modder, dropping $200 on a Lian Li case and making that first cut has to be pretty scary for someone who's new at it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I don't even think about it.
You get into it though, you develop immunity to it, don't you? You just
Yeah. Well, I just grab the Sawzall now, and here we go.
The part of the reason why is not just because those cases are nice looking, it's that they're very durable. And they structurally, when you go and modify them, they still hand up to the modification. Mm-hmm. So that's another big reason why. When Jeremy was here, I was excited for the first time when we were at Micro Center. They had a Silverstone TJ10, and I've been raving to him over the last year or so. You got to see the motherboard tray in this thing. It's the best I've ever seen because it's super. It's built real solid, like unlike any other one I've seen before. And I'm like, dude, you got to see this. And that's cool. I mean, when they put that much work in just the motherboard tray,
Yeah, and I think I'll jump in quickly. At the moment, I seem to like third-party cases or just like random cases. Like the last project I was working on was the Project Deadline, which I did for a competition, and that was actually a really nice case to cast on. It was an Encaster Eclipse before they had powder coated it. Oh. So, like, if you want to find, as a new modder, because I'm a relatively new modder compared to everybody else here, just go out and see if you can find any case distributors that have, like, random cases lying around. And they're normally high-end cases that just haven't been finished.
Practice first, you're saying. Talk to a relative, or just get a junk one before you do, drop $200 just to practice. If you've never worked a jigsaw or a Dremel before, yeah, just practice on a bomb.
Well, I've had suggestions before of cases to start on and where to get them. As you say, relatives are tossing out their old Pentium 3 or something. You know, try your hand on that case, or go to Craigslist is a good one, where they a lot of times are giving away old things. And my son-in-law to be actually was heading home and happened to find a case sitting in the alley out by the trash. It was an old Pentium 3 tower, and that one's sitting in the basement for some time in the future. But those things are great to practice on, you know, to learn how to handle the Dremel and the saws and stuff without hurting yourself and creating a total mess of the case.
It would almost make a good contest. You just have the grab the cheapest desktop case on Newegg and have people go at it.
Yeah, some Rosewheel special.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing that costs less than shipping does, you know.
Yeah. Be a good contest.
That's a great idea.
Actually, thinking about it, if you're determined to get something Lee and Lee quality, go for like the Rocketfish or Lion Cool cases, which are made by Lee and Lee, but just aren't as expensive.
Right. Do they make the Rocketfish still, though?
No.
I don't know. I haven't looked.
No, that was a modified chassis designed specifically for Best Buy to be sold in Best Buys, and it obviously didn't work out too well, which is why they went on clearance, and thus became the Rocketfish legend. People picking up the case for $60 in the store. I mean, that's unheard of for a Lee and Lee built chassis.
Wow.
That is, yeah.
And to those that, you know, that don't really believe it's a Lee and Lee chassis, I've actually seen the label in person. It is, in fact, manufactured by Lee and Lee. Plus, you look at the chassis itself, it screams Lee and Lee. The base chassis itself is, I think an A71 chassis, I think. But they just modified a couple of things on it to drop the price. Like, cheaper hard drive mounts, all that type of stuff, but perfectly fine chassis to work on. Nothing wrong with it at all. Can't beat the price.
In
You know,
which
thinking of
case,
something cheap for a contest-wise, Bill had on the Case Mod blog recently the article about the student or whatever that did the cardboard-based cases. Now,
Yeah.
that would be cool to have a contest.
Oh, cardboard only?
Cheapskate
I don't
can win
know.
that one.
I think I saw that on one of the Gawker sites. It was like what? It was a prefab flat pack cardboard case you could form up into a computer case. Yeah, I saw that.
Right.
Yeah. That's awesome. I think a contest
Fire
where
hazard.
you use cardboard. Cardboard only. I love it. Let's do it.
Scares me, but stuff I throw in here.
Creative.
I'd be worried if you have a roach infestation in the house, though, because they like to eat silica.
it would be
Seriously?
a nice cheap.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah, they will eat cardboard if there's nothing else available.
The roach
Well,
motel.
let's
don't
see,
even
you're
want
down
to
in
know how you know
Florida,
that.
so I guess you have more of a problem with those things.
Oh, yeah.
It's the roach motel mod.
I
Or
can
like
see that.
SNL, the Roach Brothel,
I can
the
picture
John
it.
Belushi classic.
I can picture it complete with flypaper sound deadening material. You know?
Absolutely.
Oh, right. I think we're going to move on from that as quickly as possible. The next, we've actually got 3 questions from J. Halon 303, who's just we all know as John. And the first question he asked is, where did the ideas for case mods come from? And if Christine, you could start on that one.
Oh, well, various things. Sometimes when I'm falling to sleep and kind of in that halfway in between place, and just ideas will pop into my head about a lot of things, but case mod things. I've got a lot of them. I've got a little file that I've written things down for later reference, and sometimes there will be a game that's particularly graphically striking, it's like, oh, now that would be cool to put on the side of a case. Or another thing is like, well, I love this case and the way it's laid out, but the airflow sucks. So what can I do to improve that? And so sometimes it's just out of, pulling out of the air. Other times it's inspiration from things you come across. And then the third way is practicality. What can I do to change the function? And that's where, my ideas have come from.
Jeremy?
Yeah. It's a good question. My personal projects, when I want to come up with something new, it's not really forced. I'll have a particular theme that I want to go for, and I'll go out on a search and try to find a particular chassis that will fit that theme naturally. So everything just kind of meshes, without, with minimal effort. It really depends on, project to project. Sometimes I'll get, inspiration by, like Christine said, something, a game, a movie, whatever it is. And, I'll write the idea down and usually forget about it, come back to it 6 months later and go, oh yeah, I forgot about this. And, pick up from there. Sometimes it's something instantaneous. I just get hit with an idea and go, all right, I'm going to go with this. It just depends on what it is.
And, well, Karen. Okay, for me, it's actually just me drawing random things. I'll sit with a pen and paper and then ideas just happen to appear I seem to pluck them out of midair. But ideas are actually cheap. I've got a good maybe 50, 60 different case mod ideas. And ideas aren't the things that are hard to come up with. It's the way you implement them to make them look good. That's actually what's more hard to do than actually coming up with the original idea. Well, for me at least. Dave?
I was just kind of thinking off of my own here about, it's just good for me that there's so many companies that make cases that suck.
And there's plenty of them too.
But as far as modding goes, I'm more of like a performance guy. I'm not as much a bling guy as I am looking at the hardware I want to throw in there and trying to figure out the best way to cool it. And that's always gonna drive my decisions. But specifically, for the type of work that I do, supporting our product. Obviously, what I'm trying to do is make the customer happy, and they have some ideas in their head, and it's just try and find ways, depending on how far we can take it, and or handing it over to guys like Bill, to take it to that next step. That's typically a world that I just like to make sure that the thing is cool and running like a monster, and looks really nice, and then I let you guys you crazy guys really who are more creative than I am in that regard fill that niche for sure.
And finally, Bill, where do you get all the ideas when customers ask you to build something, or even when you're building something for yourself?
Yeah, but if it's something they want, I just try to listen and get into their shoes. And that's always a fun part because you learn a lot about the people. But personally, it's just like if I'm doing something for myself, it's what do I like? I like cars and motorcycles. The current PCE I'm building for myself, which seems to be taking forever, is the Giger theme, alien biomechanical theme PC, because I love that type of artwork. But one thing I want to mention is in my line of business, if a manufacturer comes to me and they're going to have something they want for a show display, and they don't have any input for a theme, I will usually draw something from popular culture, and it seems to be like the entertainment realm, either games or movies. When I talked to Cooler Master and they wanted a system for their suite, I suggested the District 9 theme because it's something that a lot of people are still talking about. They're excited about this year, and when somebody who sees it within a few months after the movies come out, they'll recognize it right away. And it's also still a buzz term that's used in internet searches as well. So, yeah, if they're giving me a blank canvas, I'll draw something from popular culture. Or like new games too. You know, in our realm, it's all about PC games. So, what's a new game out there or upcoming game? That way you get people that are just talking about that already, and you're just feeding into that by creating a project. So, like for example, if you go to a work log forum, you're probably going to be attracted to something that's like a brand new game, being like somebody's doing, like the Wolfenstein we're doing right now. Although the game's been out for a while, it's like, well, what's this guy doing with Wolfenstein? You know, I'm going to be buying that game. What's he doing? So it kind of helps separate you from everybody else in a way. Also, in some ways, it's kind of ballsy to try to take on a popular theme, and everybody wants to know, well, what's his interpretation of it going to be? You know, so that's one thing I've done. But otherwise, just what are you into? Are you into sports? There's so many people that like, different teams. What about doing a PC based on that team's colors or their mascot, or a rock band like Metallica, doing a Metallica themed case? Stuff like that. What are you into already?
It's always easier to draw ideas, especially if you're battling to get ideas from something that you know and love.
It seems like it seems like sometimes there's always too many ideas. I mean, which one am I actually going to start cutting into?
That's the problem I seem to have most of the time, is I just have way too many ideas and not enough time, money, or experience to do everything I want to do. But that all comes with time, so. And I think the next question is going to be, once again from John, who are some of your inspirational modders? And I think, Dave, you could start us off on that one.
Really, you guys. I mean, the mods that stick out in my head are the ones that I just open it up, like a work log, and it just floored me. Like the guy who made that acrylic V-twin. It just blew my mind. He totally went, even beyond my imagination, what you could do with a case mod. And, actually another one that stuck in my head is the AMD case that Bill did. And, really that was based off of no theme, but more of what resources he had and the styles that, just an idea that he went with, and it just turned into this, shiny, pretty, cool, modern, machine that was just amazing looking.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dave. Dave was here for that. By the way, guys, when we powered up that system, Dave was here for it.
Oh, it was beautiful. Amazing work. I mean, God, you milled your own panels on the thing, and anyway, that's the kind of stuff. Really, what appeals to me is just looking at a work log, and when someone takes creativity beyond your imagination, that's when it really, that's when it floors me personally.
Christine?
Oh, well, I have to say Bill is one, and others on the forum, there's always something that I haven't thought of, or a way of doing something that's different from anything I've done. Also, some of the older modders, Genome and and Tribal, what's his name?
Overkill.
Yeah, Tribal Overkill. He hasn't been around for quite a while, but his some of the things he was doing was really out of the ordinary. Just in the realm of reservoirs and things, and I like that out of the box thinking, and it kind of gets the mind going, and that's how I use for inspiration.
And for me, it's not actually all the big names. Bill's obviously one of them. But it's also all the little modders. Like there's Craig, who's his work's just amazing. Subset 7, who also works so incredibly clean that it does just floor you when you see his stuff, and it makes you want to mod. It's not just an urge to look at it. You also want to try and replicate something even 1/10 of what they managed to do.
I'm still dying to see what Craig does with our case. So, and sorry, I should go backwards a little bit and mention if you go in our gallery, there's actually quite a few people who spent a lot of time modding the case, and really I should give credit to them for the work that they've done to help us and give us ideas as well. So,
Jeremy,
just like everybody else has said, it's definitely Bill. That's no secret either.
I need a box of tissue. Hold on.
No, not tissues, man. Shop towels.
Those are man tissues.
Definitely.
Do you guys want me to send them money PayPal for the bribe?
That works for me.
I prefer bank transfer.
No.
As long as you don't get any of them tears on that table of yours.
Oh, he's got acrylic covering it anyway. It's fine.
But back on the question.
It's definitely Bill. He's one of the founding pioneers of this little often ignored hobby that a lot of us have. I mean, it's no secret that I worship pretty much everything he does. He's a constant touchstone for ideas, and he really pushes the boundary with stuff. And I mean, it's been a dream to work with and for the guy, and it's really cool. He's genuinely one of the nicest guys I've ever met. He's a really cool modder, and he's very laid back.
He looks like the Jesse James of modding.
He is.
Oh.
No, Jesse James is the Bill Owens of.
There you go.
There you go.
And Bill, I might as well ask you the question as well. Which modders inspire you to continue modding? Bill? I think he's gone off.
He's a little overclimped right now.
Yeah, he's overwhelmed.
He's crying in a corner. We'll just move on, and when he comes back, we shall speak to him again. What's the best planning tools? SketchUp, 3D models, sketchbook and pen, or pencil? Jeremy, what do you do?
To be honest with you, I'm just not that big into the whole SketchUp thing. I've dinked around with it, and it's just not the type of thing that I'd really get into. I'm more about beginning the work more than exhaustively planning stuff out. Although I do that, but as a graphic designer, I tend to work in 2D. So I usually sketch something out in vector, right down to accurate measurements and all that stuff, so I don't have to really go back and troubleshoot a lot of the potential problems that I run into. Pen and paper works fine too. Occasionally, if I'm at a cafe with a friend, or sandwich shop, or whatever, if I'm hit with an idea, I'll draw it down on a napkin. It's whatever, is easily available or readily available at the time. Everybody has their own methods. Everybody comes up with what their little, shtick, however it is that, they go about doing the things that they do.
Let's see if we've got Bill back. You back, Bill? No, we seem to be having some problems.
Might be a mic problem there.
Bill. Yeah. Christine, why don't you just carry on with the question, and we'll see if we can get Bill back.
What was the question again?
What's the best planning tools? What do you use to plan your mods?
Well, I guess, it's really up to the individual modder and what they need to do as far as planning. I too have dinked around with SketchUp, and it's not my thing. I prefer more organic method of pencil and paper and doing that kind of thing, sketching out to kind of see how it would look, and sometimes I come across something that might look better. And I prefer the doing. I don't like real heavily, every detail done in a drawing or something. Just a general kind of layout of things to get started, but definitely measuring and measuring again.
And Dave, what do you guys use to plan all your cases?
I'm actually using, engineering design software. I use AutoCAD Inventor, which is 3D design software that's compatible with Pro E and SolidWorks, which are the most common forms of engineering design software. It is really, out of my engineering degree, drafting has turned out to be the most useful skill that I learned out of it. And it may seem like a lot, but actually AutoCAD, last I heard, was offering their full suite for like $2,000, which is a ridiculously unheard of price. It's like $6,000 to $8,000 for SolidWorks now, I think. And like I said, it's fully compatible. I played with SolidWorks and a couple other things just to see what they were about. Obviously not what we're going to do my professional work in. So, I'm using the tools of my trade.
But obviously not all modders can afford the big old AutoCAD for.
No, plus it's not very
money.
intuitive, and it takes it takes some training. But things are different now where you can get that information on the net, and there's plenty of tutorials on YouTube. And like I said, it's turned into a very useful skill for me personally. I'm stupid anal about stuff. All my everything's got to be in its perfectly this and that and in its place, and I guess that's part of what makes me an engineer.
Yes.
So.
And for me, it's actually just I will draw something down as an idea comes up, as Jeremy says, on a napkin or whatever it is, whatever's near me at the time, and then I actually like using SketchUp, which is Google's free version of 3D design software, and it is pretty intuitive. You can just start using it, and I just start playing around in there, and I just build up designs and modifications of that design and change stuff all over the place, and it just allows me to quickly change different parts of the design without actually having to redraw everything.
I'm actually curious. I haven't looked at SketchUp in a while, but it seemed that they were building up quite a resource of like standard part drawings, like fans and cutouts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some places on the net where you can find lots of computer components. I know Bittek's got a massive thread of just SketchUp components.
It's all user submitted, user designed and submitted stuff.
I mean,
So
definitely, double check their work, but that sounds awesome. I mean, that's really
make sure the measurements are right.
Yeah.
Bill, how do you plan your cases?
How do I plan them?
Yeah, what planning tools? Pen, paper, SketchUp?
Nothing. like that. No, I don't. I rarely do that. You know what I did? The last time I did something, was the District 9. I wanted Jeremy to make a conceptual drawing for me to show Cooler Master, and so I just took a pen and paper and just scribbled up something, and then I just emailed it to him. I said, Jeremy, make a conceptual drawing of it. But here's the deal. The way my mind thinks, I will change if I draw something a few hours from that, I'm going to change it. So it's like all the sketches and drawings just go into the ether once I start modding. Everything's off the cuff, and it's from the gut. If it doesn't feel right, I don't do it. But if it feels right, I keep going for it. So, a lot of people think that I, do SketchUp and all that stuff with all these ideas. It's all in my head.
And it's really cool to watch in person too.
As long as you don't go insane and you lose all those ideas, that's alright.
It's just, you know what it is, and you guys were saying earlier, it's just a matter of having all the time. The ideas are there, it's just time to make them reality.
Yeah.
And money. Money too.
Time and money, the two banes of the modding planet.
Yeah. But you know what it is? It's all what type of personality you are. There's some people that plan everything out, and there's some people that don't. I mean, and you just can't force those people to do that. Luckily I have a wife that's more of a planner, because I can't remember any of our schedule when we're going to do things. She has to remind me all the time. She takes care of all the accounting and all the paperwork, because I just don't have a brain wired for that. It's very different, So, I've met people like that too. They either go off the cuff, or they spend months in advance planning and over-analyzing everything. And sometimes that can be the worst person to deal with for me, because they're so analytical about every little detail. And I say, well, does that really matter? Well...
Yes, I am one of those people.
Yeah. It's like no one's going to see it. So, actually, one of the skills I have is being able to balance time. If I can look at something and go, okay, well, that's going to take this much time to do it. I can analyze things that way, and I'm very resourceful that way. So sometimes I say, well, when do you want it done? And okay, well, here's why some of these things just aren't going to happen. So.
Well, it's always interesting to see, like, you can tell that there's, with different modders, a more left or right-brained approach to what they do. And, yeah, Bill, you do seem kind of like the absent-minded professor, genius kind of guy. More the creative side for sure. But, like, not to the point where, you have to wear diapers to create art,
That gives a scary picture.
And it could be argued that the contents of the diaper could be considered art.
Oh, don't go there, please.
Oh.
I'm going
Sorry.
to bed with him next time.
You know what? If you're looking for ideas, like when Jeremy was in town, Dave, you guys can relate on this. I took him to the Axeman surplus. You remember that, Dave?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Remember, we got to do a steampunk case. The parts in there.
It's this oddball surplus store that's got every little doohickey you can't imagine. There's all these weird things in there that, like, were failures in some type of industry, where somebody had an idea or some oddball part they have an overstock of that nobody can use. In this place called Axeman Surplus, they buy this stuff and they inventory it, and they've got all these aisles of just these oddball things. And you just walk down the aisle and like, what's this? And your brain is like, it's overloaded. It's that there comes a point like, I got to get out of here. It's just too weird,
Yeah.
Like Jeremy says, it's a flea market on acid.
Yeah. Cool place though.
Yeah, also I used to go there. One place I didn't bring Jeremy to was this place. It's a used electronics store that also has computer hardware, And that's where I got my very first box that I modded. Well, it was the Dell Eater. That's where I got the box for that. And just like computer hardware from 10 years ago, you would be amazed if you just go and look at it, that you'll get ideas from that. You know, not that you can use it, but just like you can cannibalize it and take it apart. Like, well, what a little doohickey in here, this little gear thing or whatever. And you'd be amazed what kind of ideas will come to mind, and you'll have a lot of fun with it. Like, hey, imagine if we did this, or what if we did that? You know, and the beauty is that you can take it apart. It's old, it's cheap, and if you screw it up, so what? Throw it away. You know?
Yeah. And Bill, how much stuff that do you use on mods actually do you just pick up out of like junk and skips or whatever?
Wow.
Dumpster diving mod.
Oh, I have. Oh, see, here's the beauty. When I worked for a large manufacturer for 11 years, and I worked at their headquarters, and they had a prototype shop where they made all their prototypes of the products. Okay, these were commercial and consumer products, and they had these two recycle bins in the back of the building. One was aluminum and one was for steel. And every night when I got off work to go to my car, I walked by those bins and just peeked in there because there was some awesome stuff. They had a laser cutter. They did CNC milling, laser cutting, and any type of scrap that was left over when they cut these parts, they threw it into these bins. And so there would be perforated metal, steel sheets, aluminum sheets of all kinds of oddball cutouts, different parts of engines, electronic stuff. So you can imagine just walking by the kind of ideas you get from looking at that stuff, and it was for free. And then in the past, I've gone to salvage yards and just looked at old cars. You know, look inside the interior, the dash in an old car, or just weird stuff like that. I never really, you know, sift through garbage or anything, but I've always, you know, always keep an eagle eye out for stuff. You never know. What's going to happen. I rarely go out and buy new things because I'm just trying to save money that way. You know, it was funny, I contacted Cooler Master a while back about, do you guys remember those Musketeer, those analog style Musketeer 5 1/4 bay units that had the 3 gauges?
Yeah, I remember those. They're cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had one was decibel and volt, and then I don't remember what the other one was. But they were really cool. They looked like the old kind of automobile cluster gauges, and they stopped making them. And I contacted them and said, "Do you have any left? I'm looking for one." And they said, "Yeah, sure. I think we've got one from an old demo PC that doesn't work anymore. We'll just throw it in the mail and send it to you." I'm like, "Sure." You know, so I have yet to open it up, but just something like that, I'll just take apart. And the beauty is it's already set up for use in a computer, so I don't have to do any of the circuitry on it, you know, the custom circuitry at all. So that's one thing there.
And I think that's about us for the question and answer section. But what we would really like is some more questions. So I'm just going to plug this again. If you could just go onto the Mod Brothers forum and just post your questions in there. There's the Mod Brothers podcast section, and in there there's a topic for the question submittal and also for feedback and suggestions. And we'd really like you guys just to post in both of those threads. Just tell us what you want to know and also how you think we could improve the podcast, because this, really speaking, is for you in the community, so fire away. And also, exciting news. The podcast's now available on iTunes as well, so if you just go onto iTunes and search for the Mod Brothers, you'll find us there. And I think that's us. thanks, Dave, for joining us on such short notice.
Oh, thanks for having me. I hope I didn't bore everyone in that first 20 minutes of engineering talk, and hope they're still
No,
listening.
not at all.
Fascinating. It's very fascinating.
And thanks for the rest of the Mud Brothers crew.